House has finally passed the bill, and it's going to pass the Senate too as well, because Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have already spoken and said they're going to pass it. But guys, a lot of Republicans are not happy about this. Trump is not happy about this. We got a lot of details to get into, but Trump right here, this is breaking news 14 minutes ago. Trump not happy about stopgap bill does not include debt ceiling increase. And we also have the 34 House Republicans who voted against the bill to avert the partial government shutdown. There's a lot to get into tonight, guys. It's going to be a long, long night, but we're going to be here for it. And just want to show you that now that the House has passed the bill, they took it from 1,542 pages down to 118 pages. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are actually more happy about this bill passing than the Republicans are. Remember, 34 Republicans voted against this bill. We had more Democrats vote for this bill than the Republicans did. Something sounds fishy, and there's still a lot of talks over dismissing Speaker Mike Johnson in the next couple of weeks whenever they have the vote again for Speaker of the House for the GOP. The Senate Minority Leader from the Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries, literally said, "We took down the Elon Musk and Trump spending bill. The Democrats are the ones who averted this shutdown, not the Republicans." So I don't like it whenever I hear the Democrats are more happy about this than the Republicans, but I'm going to show you the details in just a moment. We also have new leading reports that the reason that we've been seeing this supposedly sabotaging of before Trump gets into presidency, of selling the border wall, continuously giving billions of dollars to other countries, Ukraine, escalating the war, it's actually come from Jill Biden, not President Biden, in a sense. Jill Biden, and I quote, said, "Burn the whole thing down." Guys, this is our First Lady of the President of the United States. And she literally said these words. I'm sitting here like, what the heck? This is insane. But she said, "I'm furious." This is all leaked reports. Furious over the coup of Biden for the presidency and how they pretty much used him for their needs. And then when they didn't need him anymore, they kicked him to the curb and didn't want to have nothing to do with him. And he's not going to get his presidential library. And there's just a lot of bad blood right now in the Democratic Party with the Bidens. Also with the pardons too as well. But right now, Trump is not happy about the debt ceiling not being raised. He said someone is going to pay for this. Guys, I'm telling you, I feel like Speaker Johnson is about to lose his speaker position because he did not get what Trump wanted essentially the most, which was to raise the debt ceiling under the Biden administration. But I just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, go ahead, subscribe. We get you 2 shows a day, Monday through Friday, and then 1 show on Saturday, 1 show on Sunday. We bring you the top news every single day. And thank you to all of our subscribers, and thank you to all of our members of the channel. If you want to be a member, the link is in the description to join. And remember, thank you everybody for the Super Chat donations. We use the Super Chat donations and the members fees to give to a charity once a month live on stream. We're going to be doing a huge charity tomorrow at 12:30. This is going to be insane, our biggest one ever. But we've got a ton of breaking news to jump into tonight. I'm telling you, bombshell news over what is going on. But here's Speaker Johnson over what is about to happen next. Check this out.
Priority for us. This is America First legislation because it allows us to be set up to deliver for the American people. In January, we will make a sea change in Washington. President Trump will return to D.C. and to the White House, and we will have Republican control of the Senate and the House. Things are going to be very different around here. This was a necessary step to bridge the gap, to put us into that moment where we can put our fingerprints on the final decisions on spending for 2025. We also, in this bill, as you know, took care of Americans who desperately needed and deserved the assistance. We had a record hurricane season. Hurricanes Helene and Milton in particular did dramatic damage across at least 6 states. The Carolinas, Virginia, from Florida, Tennessee, all the way through. And they have been waiting for the federal government to assist. We did that tonight in this bill. We also took care of our farmers, many of whom were on the brink of collapse because of Bidenomics, frankly, because the inflationary cost of their inputs and the inability they have right now to get loans from the banks and the lenders to put their crops in the ground, to put the seeds in the ground in the spring. So we had to take care of that, and we did. We are excited about this outcome tonight. We're grateful that everyone stood together to do the right thing. And having gotten this done now as the last order of business for the year, we are set up for a big and important new start in January. We can't wait to get to that point. We encourage swift passage in the Senate now. They need to do their job as the House just did. We will all go home. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year, because I hope not to see you until we get back after that. I was in constant contact with President Trump throughout this process, spoke with him most recently about 45 minutes ago. He knew exactly what we were doing and why, and this is a good outcome for the country. I think he certainly is happy about this outcome as well. Elon Musk and I talked within about an hour ago, and we talked about the extraordinary challenges of this job. And I said, hey, you want to be Speaker of the House? I don't know. He said, this may be the hardest job in the world. I think it is. But we're going to get through this. We are going to unify this country, and we are going to bring the America First agenda to the people beginning in January. We cannot wait to get started. I hope you all have a great...
All righty, guys. So right there, we just hear from Speaker Mike Johnson. Guys, I got to show you this. So there was 34 House Republicans who voted against the bill to avert the partial shutdown. They're still getting, remember, they're giving $100 billion to FEMA for the disaster release. But FEMA has been using billions and billions of dollars to do what? To give it to illegal immigrants. So that's why I'm kind of upset about that. Tim Burchett was one of the biggest ones who voted against it. Lauren Boebert. You had Eli Crane. Let me use this over here. Nancy Mace. Guys, this is huge. When we look at the actual voting, I wanted to show you this. The actual vote came out to 170 Republicans voted yay, 34 said nay, and then 196 Democrats voted yay. More Democrats voted for this than Republicans. And what's sad is that the House Democrats are happy. They're literally out there on all the mainstream media saying how happy they are that they took down. Look at this. It's literally trending on X. Democrats celebrate bill passage amid political tensions. So I want to go straight to where things are at right now and what's going on the floor with what's about to happen next. Check this out. Oh.
House just passed that continuing resolution, what is it, 3.0, to keep the government funded through March. It's now headed to the Senate. But the government could still partially shut down at midnight tonight. Let's go live to Capitol Hill, where Fox News senior correspondent, congressional correspondent, of course, Chad Pergram is standing by. Chad, what can you tell us tonight?
Laura, good evening. Well, of course, as you say, we're waiting for the Senate here. The Senate is in session right now. I'm looking at a roll call vote that's unrelated to this, but we expect them to take this up sometime in the next couple of hours. The question is whether or not they can get this done before midnight or whether or not some senators want to kind of slow down the process, take some time, have debate, and maybe they get in to some point during the day on Saturday and there's a technical shutdown, or maybe they wrap this up right around midnight. The House of Representatives vote was 366 to 34. There were no Democratic noes, and there were 34 Republican noes. Jasmine Crockett, who is a Democrat from Texas, she voted present. Now, this new bill, as you called it, the 3.0 bill, was 118 pages. It renews funding for all government programs at the present levels through March 14th. It renews the Farm Bill for a year. There is also an emergency agriculture provision in this, emergency spending for farm programs, and $110 billion in disaster relief. That goes to Florida and North Carolina after the hurricanes this fall. So right now we're waiting on the United States Senate. Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader, is supposed to have a press conference at this hour. He's going to be talking about judges, but inevitably He will be asked about the state of play on this bill and how quickly they can process it. Right now, it's just a question of, do senators want to take their time? They are allowed that right to speak. Or if they do this by the book, and this isn't going to happen, but this is the possibility, they could really stretch that out for a couple of days to sync up with the House of Representatives. But that's probably not going to happen. This is probably going to be wrapped up sometime late tonight or maybe around midnight. But again, that deadline is 12:01 Saturday morning. But there is not going to be a government shutdown, Laura.
All this drama, Chad, right before Christmas. Come on, it wouldn't be Christmas if this wasn't happening on Capitol Hill. Chad, thank you so much, as always. All right, joining me now, Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville. Senator, coach, the bill now going to you guys in the Senate. What do you think? What do you know? It got overwhelming support, no government shutdown. What don't you like in this legislation, if anything?
Well, Laura, third time's a charm, right? We've been working on this all week long. This is what we can't have happen when President Trump takes office. This was kind of a preseason game to get all the kinks worked out. We had a lot of problems. We found out where people stood, but we'll vote on this tonight. We have a conference meeting in about an hour as the Republicans, and then we'll start voting. We've got to do something with the Social Security bill that had closure on a day or so ago, and then we will do probably 7 to 8, 9 votes tonight. It'll be pretty late, probably somewhere around midnight, and obviously, Rand Paul and Mike Lee's going to want an amendment in this, and so we'll vote on those. But it'll be a late night, but that's fine. We'll get it done. Better late than never. But as President Trump said, they didn't send us up here to be nice. They sent us up here to get results, and that's what we need to do. We need to remember this going into January.
Well, Senator Ron Paul, who I always like to read at times like this, says that it's not a good look when Republicans and Democrats negotiate together and present an unreadable bill. That was the first go around. But he's like, we're gonna basically be bankrupt if this keeps going. And the Democrats are trying to celebrate. Hakeem Jeffries is chalking this up as a huge win for the Democrats. Watch this.
House Democrats have successfully stopped extreme MAGA Republicans from shutting down the government, crashing the economy, and hurting working class Americans all across the land.
Senator, your reaction? He said basically they got what they wanted here.
They did.
Where'd they get this guy from? I mean, this time last night he said it's over. We're not agreeing to anything. It's wrong. We had an agreement and they backed out on it. It's a funny place up here, Laura. But I know people get hurt because of what we do. But these people can't get their both ducks in a row most of the time.
But it's 1,500 pages. It's down to 118 pages. And the best that the Democrats can do, I think, right now is say, oh, Elon Musk is running the show for Donald Trump. That's their new refrain. They need a boogeyman, and Musk is now it. Does that work, do you think, as a tactic going forward?
No, they're going to try to embarrass President Trump any way they can. He's the guy in charge, I promise you that. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they're going to do a great job. I like Elon's text right after this bill passed. Hey, we got the pork out of this one. Now we need to get $2.5 trillion out of the government. And he's exactly right. Exactly right. This place is an absolute cesspool when it comes to fraud, stealing money, and just throwing money out the door and spending Americans' taxpayers' money just as fast as we can. We got to quit doing this.
Senator, thank you, as always, and have a very Merry Christmas. Now to the White House, where Fox's Jackie Heinrich is standing by. Jackie, what's Biden's reaction to all of this?
Well, Laura, as this bill heads to the Senate, the press secretary put out a statement saying that the president supports this bill. It delivers things that Democrats wanted and averts a shutdown, includes things like disaster relief for communities impacted by the hurricanes, and it doesn't have an extension to the debt ceiling, which they viewed as an accelerated vehicle to facilitate the 2017 tax cuts extension. That's a battle that Democrats want to preserve for next year, use it as a point of leverage to oppose extending those cuts. But it was not clear this was going to pass. You know, House Democrats weren't happy that they lost effectively some of the ornaments on their Christmas tree bipartisan CR. And also they didn't want to jam Senate Democrats with a new bill, which is happening right now. Hakeem Jeffries did not have a vote recommendation when he sent his members to the floor. And that's pretty curious because he only spoke with Biden for the first time, we learned, at noon today, 12 hours before the deadline for the shutdown. The White House was framing Biden staying out of the spotlight as a strategy, saying that Trump and Elon Musk and congressional Republicans would be the face of any kind of shutdown. But it's made more curious by this, Politico report where you've got Democratic rank and file members hand-wringing saying that we don't know what the instruction is from above, and it comes against the backdrop of that new Wall Street Journal report, which says that White House aides have been working overtime to manage a diminished president for years now. Of course, that's a claim that the White House denies, but more and more we're seeing a picture of a president who is still in office but not in charge, with Trump calling the shots, Laura.
Wow.
Well, you have Steve Ricchetti, right? You have Jeffrey Zients. You have Kirby. You have Jean-Pierre. I mean, you have a lot of people, but no Biden tonight. I don't expect we'll see him. Jackie, as always, thank you.
Guys, let me tell you this. So, I don't have a good feeling about this bill. There's some good things about it. This is what Charlie Kirk had to put, that big win for Trump in Congress. He now has a clean one with no Democratic pork or member raise, so they're not getting a raise. They don't deserve one. And plus, they already get paid $180,000 a year, plus a lot of free travel, free food, and all that. So they don't need more money. But it did have massive economic and disaster aid for farmers in states affected by the hurricanes. The bill was cut 95% in length. It eliminated the January 6th committee protection provision. So remember, they wanted to put a protection that no emails, no calls, no documents could be subpoenaed from Congress. Guys, if this isn't the most corrupt thing that they could ever see, I mean, listen to this. Hold on real quick. Let me pull this up. I pulled this up. So this is the provision that they pulled out. Everybody kept saying, no one's above the law. No one's above the law. Well, then why did Congress try to put themselves above the law by giving themselves the ability to quash any subpoena for their records? That's what was pulled out of the bill, but it was in there. Guys, I just don't trust any. It's so hard for me to trust any politician, but I just don't believe them. I don't see it. So I want to play for you. This is Tim Burchett. He's one of the ones that voted against it. Listen to his take on it, because I'm telling you, there's more to the story than what we're seeing.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett. I did my usual video as I left the House floor, but it was terrible and I wasn't prepared, didn't have a lot of the great details in it I wanted to give y'all. I voted against it. We said we were going to do separate bills. That's what everybody wanted. Dadgum, of course we didn't do it. We loaded it all up together. There was $5.7 billion in there for submarines. There was $100 million for the Coast Guard. Not sure what that was in there. There was the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Remember the bridge in Maryland got hit by a barge, and the barge was insured, but still it doesn't make sense. Why are we putting money in that? It doesn't make any sense to me. And of course the $100 million in there for disaster.
So you just heard him say this. The bridge that got hit some time ago, that got damaged by a boat, was insured, but the taxpayers are still paying for it. Guys, this is the type of corruption that's out there. Why? If the insurance is there, then it pays for it. Why does our tax dollars have to go for there?
Disaster relief. Where did they come up with the $100 million figure? Those people are doing without. Granted, that's a lot of money, but we don't trust this administration with a nickel, and we're going to give them $100 billion to play with for 30 days. And the president just now gave a billion to Ecuador. Nobody's really sure what that's about. And another billion, of course, went to Ukraine without our input. So,
did you hear that? I'm sorry to interrupt so much, but the audio is not as good, and I want to make sure you're hearing what he's saying. He's like, why did we just give $100 billion to FEMA, for disaster relief? Who came up with that? Also, we just gave $1 billion to Ecuador. We just gave $1 billion to Ukraine. Like, we didn't even have a say in that. The president's just giving this money away.
Anyway, it's just a CR. It's just a continuation of bad spending policies that Schumer and Pelosi. And the odd thing is, they got on the floor and said they were going to be against it. The Democrats were going to be against it. And a huge number voted for it. I'm not sure any of them even voted against it. And then, of course, all the Republicans jumped in. I just feel like we got played. It's just doesn't make any sense with them trashing it and then all voting for it. That makes you feel like something went wrong. Anyway, we'll keep fighting. The government stayed open. And everybody has a Merry Christmas.
Alrighty, guys. So you just heard it right there. He's like, look, I feel like we got played. If the Democrats are as happy as they are about this, then something went wrong. Because they were literally saying, like, it's all the Republicans' fault. They're going to shut this down. I don't like seeing this type of stuff. Hakeem Jeffries coming out, and he's really toting this as, like, his win. Look, House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries says they defeated Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Defeated? Like, I don't understand. There's so much news going on right now. Guys, that's what we're trying to find is the truth. Now, I've got somebody that I want to play for you. This news just broke. I feel like he's a true patriot. Senator Tuberville is going over the next steps of what's about to happen next. Check this out.
Was about 1/13 the size of what got introduced on Monday evening, which was an omnibus bill. That was no continuing resolution.
Well, you're right, Dagan. All that was is a wish list for the Democrats, and they've done this every year. Every year I've been here, they push it to the limit. They go up to the final seconds, and of course they're going to try to get every dime out of the American taxpayer they possibly can. But luckily, MAGA's taken over. President Trump, the Doge brothers, everybody that's involved. It's been a hard process for the House. It'll come to the Senate tonight. We'll probably get it within an hour or so, but it's going to take us 8 to 10 votes. We'll have some amendment votes, and we'll probably be here close to midnight. And then Chuck Schumer will jump up and say, look what we did. We saved the government from shutting down, and it's the biggest farce I've ever been around.
We've got confirmation that the vote indeed did pass. All the nays were GOP votes. Every Democrat who voted for the bill. Clearly a victory for Speaker Johnson, but I wonder if you could just make sense of, okay, so it got done. It's smaller, it's slimmer. There's no debt ceiling increase. Does this feel like the kind of setup that President-elect Trump wants to get done the bigger part of his project, which is to cut spending and make the federal budget look more like something that responsible people would put together?
Yeah, it's a good start. You know, the disaster a few days ago when that came out, it was an embarrassment. It was an embarrassment to President Trump and MAGA and all the people that voted. You know, outstanding numbers, you know, record votes come out to say, listen, we got to change this mess. And all of a sudden, Mike Johnson comes out with this omnibus bill where everybody's looking around going, what the heck's going on here? And so I think he learned a lesson. He learned a lesson that the guy that's running the House and the Senate for the Republicans and the White House, a guy named Donald Trump. And so I think people grew up in this moment. Hopefully we learned a lot, but we got to get on the train because President Trump's not going to have forever to get this done. We have got to get something done for the tax reform and the border right off the bat. And if we don't do that, then the American people are going to say, hey, I told you so. You know, you weren't able to get it done, and they'll go back voting for some on the other side.
Coach, there were Republicans when that 1,500-plus page omnibus was dumped, who were angry that their own little pet spending projects weren't included in it. Now, they might have been titmouse quiet about it, but they've got some learning to do because a large swath of the United States right now, they're members of the Shut It Down caucus because they know that only 6% of the federal workforce show up every day on a full-time basis into the office. They are done with the regular way of doing things in the nation's capital.
People voted for a change. There's a new sheriff in town.
Yes.
And he's got a different badge than he had on 4 years ago when he walked out of the office in 2021. But now he's back, and people have said, you change it or we're going to change something that you're not going to like. And President Trump is the only guy that can get this done. He's going to have a great group of assistant coaches, Dagan, that we're trying to get, confirmed. Unfortunately, we got some Republicans that want to feel like they're relevant. But let's give him the people around him very quickly and get this thing off to a start. Right after January the 3rd, we get back. Let's go with it and get President Trump ready to come out of the blocks.
Right. He's got a different posse this time, and they're a bunch of shin kickers.
Dang.
I'm
exactly
liking the
right.
metaphor here. I'm trying to figure out how to extend it. Let's talk about the old sheriff, Senator. He's not been present at all in any of this. Nowhere.
Nothing.
Vice President, nowhere to be found. Press secretary, evading every question about why he's not involved. Has he just given up? Has he just said, you know what, I cede this territory to Trump? It seems like he has.
And the mainstream media is going, hey, what's wrong with him? He's sharp as a tack.
Yeah, right.
It's embarrassing to see the mainstream media, what they've done, and tried to trick the American people. Hopefully the American people look at the mainstream media as the enemy now and start listening to people that actually care about this country. President Biden, he hadn't had both oars in the water since I've gotten here 4 years ago. And it has been very, very rough for me to watch, knowing that I believe in leadership, and we've had no leadership. I don't know who's been running the show. We've got a bunch of kids, or Jake Sullivan, or Blinken. I think everybody's doing their own thing, and they haven't done one positive thing for the American people in 4 years. And that's the reason President Trump got a hard job getting ready to start January the 20th.
Senator, before we move on, do you think once President Trump is inaugurated with the tax reform, extending the Trump tax cuts and border, do you expect one big reconciliation package gets done? One, rather than a bunch of smaller ones. I know that that's Larry Kudlow's greatest concern.
Well, the first thing is you got to remember it's very hard to get any bills done. And so we got to make sure that the American people get money in their pocket and we get this country back going again, growing. If we don't grow the country through getting people back to work, cutting down on the taxes for the American people, we're going to have a tough time growing. We've got to start that right off the bat. Hopefully we can get that done along with the border. We all know the border's got to be closed up, but I'm a true believer in Tom Homan. I've watched him, and I tell you what, he is fired up, ready to go to work. And again, going back to this past administration, it has been a complete disaster, and it couldn't have been any worse. And the guy hid out in his basement to get elected. Yeah. He hasn't done anything in 4 years, and thank God we've got President Trump in, and American people believed in him for the second time. He will get it done.
Yeah, we just got 15 seconds left.
Guys, let me tell you this. I want to say that right now, so this was posted earlier. A lot of people are concerned about the U.S. debt. This is literally over the past 221 years, the total U.S. debt at the bottom reached 12 trillion. And then within 12 years, they added another 12 trillion from 2008 to 2020. And then from 2020, from 24, we're at the door of 36. So in 4 years, we've added another 12 trillion. So it keeps getting smaller, and a lot of people are concerned about this because it could fall back on the American people with high inflation if this does not get under control. Thank you so much, Brian McGavick, for the super chat, gifting 10 True Life News memberships. Let's go. Y'all show Brian some love in the chat. Awesome, awesome. Growing the True Life News fam. Guys, I wanted to show you this because this really has me concerned. I feel like this is some sort of treason. Let me know your thoughts, because these leaked reports of what Biden and Joe Biden are doing in terms of sabotaging the United States, this sounds like treason to me. Listen to this.
A new report claims First Lady Jill Biden is seeking revenge for Democrats' poor treatment of President Biden, from the coup to take Biden out of the presidential race to the backlash over son Hunter's pardon. The First Lady is reportedly urging President Biden to, quote, settle the score with several one-time allies. Quote, Jill views Democrats on Capitol Hill, the wider party, the Obamas, staff inside and outside the White House, the media, and all of Washington, D.C. with such misguided resentment that I can't imagine she isn't encouraging Joe to burn the whole thing down despite his better judgment. Yowza.
Guys, do y'all hear that? Like, this to me is very bothersome over the First Lady and all these reports coming out of literally pushing Biden to essentially sabotage the United States right now. Like, this, I just can't even imagine that this is where America is at right now. What the heck is going on? I wanted to give you an update on where the House is at in the spending bill, where it's at in the Senate. Right here, check this out. And thank you so much, Mr. Tracy J. Norby, for the super chat. He said, please donate to tonight to give away for TrueLife is going out for giving our support to this channel. Watch droppings hit the fan when Trump hits office. Let's go, my family. Merry Christmas to all. Let's go. Y'all show Mr. Norby some love in the chat. Check this out, everybody.
Well, senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich joins us now with that story. Good evening, Jackie.
Good evening, Rich. As this bill clears the House and heads to the Senate, the White House press secretary just put out a statement saying that President Biden supports this bill. It includes things that Democrats sought, like disaster relief for those people impacted by the hurricanes, and it doesn't include extending or raising the debt ceiling, which Democrats viewed as an accelerated vehicle to extend the 2017 Trump tax cuts. But in the lead up to this moment, the president didn't make any statements. He stayed out of public view, and the White House framed that as a strategy, even as they had to admit that he hadn't even made contact with Democratic leaders in both chambers until earlier this afternoon, about 12 hours before the shutdown deadline loomed. Rank-and-file Democrats were describing a vacuum of leadership. Talks with half a dozen lawmakers generated this Politico headline, quote, Biden is AWOL as Washington spirals into shutdown chaos. His absence really gave the GOP a counterpunch.
By the way, Joe Biden's still the president of the United States. Where is Joe Biden? Has anybody heard from Joe Biden?
The picture of a president still in office but not in charge was coming together long before Trump and Elon Musk scuttled the government funding plan, giving Biden some cover with that. Fewer and fewer public appearances lately, or even printed statements, lending liberal voices to more loudly question why Biden has been laying low.
Do you think Biden has quietly quit? Trump isn't president yet. A fact that's getting easier and easier to forget.
That now appears against the backdrop of a damning Wall Street Journal report alleging that White House staff have been working to manage the diminished president for years, restricting his interactions with lawmakers and even cabinet members, keeping meetings short, scripted, and ideally in the afternoon. Quote, senior advisors were often put into roles that some administration officials and lawmakers thought Biden should occupy. Now, the White House denied to the Journal that Biden has declined, but allies who first championed his reelection bid are now on defense.
I do not hang out with the president on the weekends. I don't spend time with him socializing and in person. My experience with him in the time up to that debate led me to believe that he was fully capable of competently leading our nation.
The White House called a lid around 5 p.m., a clear sign that the president was betting that there would be plenty of blame to go around if the government did, in fact, shut down, because Trump had said that this would be a Biden problem to solve, but you had Trump and Elon Musk scuttling a bipartisan plan that the White House kept speaking up for earlier today. Rich.
Well, Jackie Heinrich live for us.
Guys, I'm telling you, the leaks are coming out. I just showed you the thing about Biden. There's something else that just came out about Nancy Pelosi. But thank you so much, Chip Trap, for the super chat. Let's go. He said, I got you, Tracy J. Y'all show Chip some love in the chat, everybody. And Mr. Norby as well, helping to grow the True Life News fam in the donation support. So, guys, check this out. Breaking, Nancy Pelosi and her husband appear to have used unreported $28 million in COVID pandemic grants to make their personal investments in a hotel profit, per Real Clear Investigations. the two investors in the Auberge de Salo, a five-star hotel, guys, they said that their private holdings, such as the resort, received upwards of $28 million in pandemic-related taxpayer funds, including the PPP, COVID-19 Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and a special grant program for restaurants. Hold up. So this lady, who literally ran the government under Biden, who's worth like $260 million. Yeah, you heard me right. $260 million. Literally received loans, grants, and all this to keep her bougie five-star hotel going that was an investment. Guys, there's corruption out there. It's by these dang elite politicians. We've got to clean the swamp. We've got to get these people out of here. Like, you cannot make this up. Why did we have to give her money when she's worth over $200 million to help run her five-star hotel? This makes no sense, guys. Like, I hate seeing these stupid reports because it's not fair to the average American person that's busting their butt to pay 15-20% in taxes, and then these elitists get to do these things with the bills, pass these bills, then they put it towards their own businesses to help them keep growing, and while we're over here sitting and trying to get a stimulus check. But we got some more updated news on what's happening with the bills, guys. Check this out.
Good evening and welcome to Washington. I'm Rich Edson in for Brett Baer. Breaking tonight, we are now less than 6 hours from the deadline to get a funding bill through Congress before the start of a partial government shutdown. But it appears that may be averted. House members apparently will pass the latest version of a stopgap measure. Let's get more on where things stand on Capitol Hill with senior congressional correspondent Chad Pergram. Good evening, Chad.
Good evening, Rich. Well, right now, this vote is on in the House of Representatives, and this vote is not final, but this bill is going to pass. They needed a minimum of 290 yeas. Right now, they're up in the 360s. So this bill will, in fact, pass the House of Representatives. Now, the House wove together 3 bills into one: an interim spending bill to avoid a shutdown tonight, emergency money for farmers, and $110 billion in disaster aid. Listen.
Governing by continuing resolution, Mr. Speaker, is never ideal. The alternative, a government shutdown, would be devastating.
This bill that we're discussing right now has no such bipartisan input. This was no deal or no agreement, except for among a small group of House Republicans.
It's an interim spending bill. That means all old money is simply renewed. That's hard for the military since the Pentagon gets the most money spent by Congress.
My preference is just pass the damn appropriations bills. CRs are terrible. And speaking as the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, they are devastating to the Defense Department. Over half the discretionary budget. They don't get to plan for the future.
Some Republicans privately mulled a government shutdown, but outgoing Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell argued against that tactic.
I don't care to count how many times I've reminded our colleagues and our House counterparts how harmful it is to shut the government down. When you try to use normal government function as a bargaining chip, you pay a political price.
Fiscal conservatives groused about unpaid money to respond to natural disasters like hurricanes in Florida and North Carolina.
Most estimates for North Carolina have been at $50 billion. Why are we doing $110 billion? I mean, maybe we could do $50 billion and ask again in a month or two whether it's being wisely spent or whether people are stealing the money from us. And so just larding out the money without doing any kind of conscious pay for it is a mistake.
The government funding episode underscores the headaches facing House Speaker Mike Johnson. He has a smaller majority next year.
I think the equivalent of what Mike Johnson has had to do over the last couple of weeks is like trying to eat a live porcupine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so he has eaten the porcupine.
The porcupine has been consumed.
Now, this vote is still open. It should be closed momentarily here, and we're waiting for the actual vote count. But this bill will pass the House of Representatives. It is then on to the Senate to sync up, perhaps later tonight. The deadline is midnight. Rich?
Chad, it looked like this bill got some pretty solid support from Democrats here. Democrats still control the Senate at least for another few weeks. Do we expect the same result over there in the Senate?
Anytime you see a vote of this caliber, that many yeas, it's probably going to get through the other chamber here. In fact, it's just a question of time. We wonder how long they will take, but probably you could see a vote of 70 or 80 yeas on this bill in the Senate later tonight.
Is this the kind of thing where one senator can hold up the whole thing and make this go for a few days, or this close to the holidays, we don't expect that one of the 100 would do that?
Yeah, absolutely. You could have that happen because, again, you have to get unanimous consent and agreement to step on the gas and get around all the Senate procedures. Anybody could do that and really drag this out and force a government shutdown at that stage. We haven't gotten any signals of that. I've been asking around all day. Earlier in the week, nobody could quite tell us what they were planning to do. But what happens around this time of year, especially just before the Christmas holidays, is people want to get out of the building and get home and trim the tree and bake the cookies or whatever. So that might kind of give impetus for people to vote for this bill tonight and get home.
Okay. Chad Pergram live for us on the Capitol Hill.
Hey, Sean. So, guys, y'all hear this. So it's more important just to get home than to actually do your job. And right now, the Democrats, I mean, guys, you can't make this stuff up right now. Like, they're celebrating. They're all around the news right now. Check this out. That they have defeated, they say, Hakeem Jeffrey boasts Democrats, now it's not just defeated, they took down Elon Musk and President Trump with their latest spending bill. Like, I don't understand. Democrats are celebrating this more than the Republicans. You have a lot of establishment or anti-establishment Republicans that are furious that this passed. They said this should have never passed because it still has things that are unaccounted for. Just like I showed you with Rand Paul, who just said that why did we give them $100 billion when everything estimates that it's only $50 billion? Why don't we just give them $50 billion in the hand? Because it's corruption, guys. They're always going to ask for more, and then they'll find a place to put that money. And the latest news on Trump is that he's still not happy about the stopgap bill that doesn't include a debt ceiling. Because again, too, once the debt ceiling is raised, it's put on that president of whoever was in office who raised it, regardless if the previous president was mostly the reason why you had to raise the debt ceiling. And so Trump's not happy about this. Guys, it's literally the headline news for Fox right now. Check this out. President-elect Trump not happy with bill pass. House passed to avoid, this is the homepage of Fox, passed to avoid partial government shutdown. And we had 34 House Republicans that opposed this. I would have opposed this. I would have said shut the dang thing down and let's really do our best job to only pass what is necessary. And so we've got some more updated information on where things are at with some other people, guys, because the more that they're fighting this, we got to know, how is it going to be in the Senate? Check this out.
We heard Washington Times opinion editor Jason Chaffetz, former chair of the House Oversight Committee, both Fox News contributors. Jason, now this debt ceiling issue is very wonky to people outside of D.C., but this does not raise the debt ceiling. Now, when you're reading about this tonight, analysts will say this will make it trickier for Donald Trump to find that $2+ trillion in spending cuts because they actually account for tax cuts, $4 trillion in tax cuts as spending on Capitol Hill. So he will run into trouble with that calculus in Congress. Is that not the case?
Partially. Look, Donald Trump was right. They should have disposed of the debt ceiling before he gets sworn into office, and it's a shame that they weren't able to get that done. But they score a tax cut as if it cost the American taxpayers. But when we did the first round of the Trump tax cuts, guess what? Revenue to the Treasury went up. But the way that they score these things, they don't get credit for that. It's not dynamic scoring, and that's the problem. And so they can deal with this. I think Republicans will pass that. They will understand if they see true cuts to spending, they're going to raise the debt ceiling. It makes sense. Nobody thinks we're going to balance the budget in the first, 12 months, but we're going to be moving on a trajectory to do that. And every single Republican, I think, would be applauding that.
Well, I think, Charlie, President Trump, and knowing him as I do, is probably somewhat annoyed. They're going to put on happy faces, but I imagine if I were he, I'd be somewhat annoyed by this because it would have been a lot easier for him to do the no taxes on tips, all the things that he wants to do, if they had given him that 2-year suspension on the debt ceiling. And they don't have that now. So it's a lot of maneuvering, and it's much harder with a smaller majority next year. That's what I kept telling everybody.
Yeah. Well, and of course, Donald Trump is exactly right. It is harder to sort of negotiate. The whole reason that he wanted to punt or rather to take care of the debt ceiling now is so that it doesn't mess up things next year. And it's exactly that kind of tactical thinking that for too long Republicans in Washington have been incapable of doing, and he's the first Republican to come along and say, no, actually, let's do this strategically, and then really get all of everything we want once we Republicans control both chambers of Congress and the White House, and we don't have to deal with this other nightmare. So it was a smart strategy. Obviously, I think you're right. He will be disappointed. And Jason is exactly right about the scoring for tax cuts. But, that's what happens when you have government bureaucrats in Washington, in the swamp, scoring bills. They score things in ways that, like the real world, where you have to actually balance your checkbook and you're not allowed to print money,
right.
The way they would recognize the wins. And I still believe that once Republicans get free and clear into next year, they're going to have to deal with that bill. But this ultimately is a victory for them. And for Hakeem Jeffries to now claim that this was somehow a victory for him when they lost whatever it was, 1,400 pages of junk in the bill is just another example of Democrats. They just play mind games. That's all they know how to do is play mind games.
Yeah. Well, I think, Jason, we just want the incoming president to be super successful. And again, with a extremely narrow majority, you have to sometimes do things you don't want to do, and you have to get to yes somehow. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all. It's very ugly, the process is, but he had to get there. Speaker Johnson spoke about the president and his part of this negotiations a short time ago. Watch.
I was in constant contact with President Trump throughout this process, spoke with him most recently about 45 minutes ago. He knew exactly what we were doing and why, and this is a good outcome for the country. I think he certainly is happy about this outcome as well.
Now, Jason, who's the best negotiator that we know in Washington? Or in the United States? I would say in the United States, is Donald Trump. The idea that Donald Trump shouldn't have been involved in this is ludicrous.
Yeah, he's the only leader in town. And the contrast with Joe Biden, who is just, MIA, is just unbelievable, the contrast. And I can't even imagine what this would be like with a Kamala Harris. I mean, she has a hard time counting to 10. I don't know. But Donald Trump understands this, and he's playing three-dimensional chess. He will get us to where we need to get to, and that is to put our economy and our books in a sound financial order.
Yeah.
And that's what he's got to do. But it's hard because I got to tell you, there are less than 100 fiscal conservatives in the House of Representatives.
Oh, no.
It's a swamp. The problem's going to be with Republicans. Yeah, they don't want to cut spending.
The biggest problem Trump has always had, the biggest problem he's always had, frankly, are with the Republicans. Okay, but he's defeated them all in the past, and he'll defeat them again. Charlie Hurt, Washington Times opinion.
Sorry, guys. So right now, it's in the Senate right now. They're going back and forth on the floor. I think that, man, there may be some of them that are going to fight this, y'all. I'm half and half on whether it's going to get actually passed tonight, but I think it's going to be a 50-50 shot. Rand Paul is literally lighting them up right now over in the Senate over all this extra spending that there's no, like, we literally don't even have a number as to, like, why 100 billion is what he keeps saying. Why 100 billion? Because the estimates are telling us 50 billion. And if we want to just give money out, where is it going to go? How are we going to account for it? Guys, it's like we're living in the twilight zone right now. Not only did we just get something passed, and it's a lot better than what it was, but there's a reason why 34 House Republicans voted against this bill. And we're talking about, we showed you a video from Tim Burchett, Lauren Boebert. Guys, these are true patriots. Eli Crane, Nancy Mace, Corey Mills, Chip Roy, which I know that Trump took some hits at, but when I look at this list of people, I'm like, hey, these aren't to me. These aren't rhinos. These are like true believers. So I'm still uneasy about it. I don't agree. I wish they would have shut the government down and only passed the essential needs, so that way we could properly vet the bills and properly document them and probably have accountability towards them. They just got this bill 2 days ago, and then now they shortened it down, and they've gone behind the scenes, and they've all negotiated and whatnot over what's going to happen next. Thank you so much, Mr. Norby, for the super chat. Let's go. He said, last one for the night. Thank God in the new administration coming into office in 30 days, we will proper a little better, and let's pray so they fight it out tonight. Let them fishtail fight in there. Let's go. Y'all show Mr. Norby some love in the chat. So we'll be keeping you updated, guys. We do got the big show tomorrow night. And guys, to everybody that's watching, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. True Life News does Monday through Friday, 2 shows a day, 1 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, and we make sure to bring you the top news as it's actually happening. That's why you see my eyes, going everywhere, because I'm constantly looking at where what's coming in, what's the updated news, because I want you to be 100% informed by the time we get done with this show. But I want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, again, hit that subscribe button, and if you haven't hit the thumbs up like button, please do so, guys. It's free. It really helps the channel. And if you want to be a member of the channel, the link is in the description to join. And remember, we use the members fees and the super chats, and we make a big donation to charity every single month. We've already given to Isaiah 117 House, to Samaritan's Purse. We've already given to Wounded Warriors. And tomorrow we're going to do our biggest donation ever. Guys, this is the season of giving. I want to give some shout outs to Mr. Tracy J. Norby, Chip Trapp, Richard Carver. Thank y'all so much for the super chats. Let's go. Y'all show them some love in the chat, everybody. We are here for you, to support you, inform you, and make sure that you get the truth every single day. We love you, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.